So what we're going to do in the next session, over the next 30 minutes, we can get 30 on the clock up front here, it'd be great. We're going to look at just quick little ideas, just top-level takeaways that you can use to go back and make a change tomorrow, next day, the next week. And even if you get 1 or 2 ideas from this session, hopefully it's really helpful too. So I'm going to jump in that first one. And John, if we can get 30 minutes on the clock up here, that'd be great. So the first one, as I mentioned, we had our MarketingSherpa survey to 2,400 consumers, and what we found out was the difference between satisfied and unsatisfied customers. This probably wouldn't surprise you, but satisfied customers are much more likely to engage with every type of channel, right? With email, watching TV ads, whatever it is, satisfied customers are a lot more likely to engage. So what this means to me is this is data that you can use. Go to your business folks. Go to whoever you need to go to help influence every customer touch point. Because at the end of the day, if you're an email marketer, if you're a digital marketer, and you're only focused specifically on best practices for what you're working on, right? You can focus all that time and energy and business investment in that, and you can still underperform because there's other touch points that your customers are having with your company that are hurting you. So use that data, go to your business leaders, and make sure that every customer touch point is high value, right? But that's something we've learned here at MarketingSherpa. Not all that wisdom comes from the stage. A lot of wisdom's out there in the audience. So we want to shine a light on some of that too. So Pamela, tell us some other wisdom from the audience.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm here with Sarah Shalla from Lumens, who built a content army. Tell us about that.
We weren't having a lot of luck with freelance writers or outside contractors to create content that we felt really reflected our brand. So we recruited internally. We went to every department in our company and recruited a group of what we'd call writerly types, ones that had a creative interest or were good writers, and they are our content army. So they're from merchandising and from customer service and sales, and so they're all now creating all the content we produce and bringing those different perspectives to everything that we publish or put out there.
And a pretty low budget item then.
Yeah, we didn't have the money to add staff members to the marketing department and specifically for content. So this group actually does get a stipend in addition to their salary for their day-to-day job, which is obviously a nice bonus. But in addition to that, it's just been like a big culture builder. Like they're kind of working and breathing what they do every day in a really public way. And everyone wants to work in marketing, and it kind of helps them like be a part of that in a really advocate kind of way. So there are brand ambassadors as well.
Awesome. It's kind of like Travel Leaders Group. Brian Haggerty presented. They have their travel agents producing content for them. So look for unlikely sources of content marketing. Thank you, Sarah.
Love that everyone wants to work in marketing. Joining me now is Joe McCambley, SVP of Content Marketing at Pop. So Joe, we've been talking a lot about behavioral experimentation, seeing how different things perform with your audience, but what should we think beyond the results that we see?
That's a great question. Way back in 2003, I was hired by AOL to run a design and content studio for its 28 million members. And on my first day of work there, the CEO, a guy named John Miller, called me into his office and he said, Joe, what's the single biggest improvement that you and I can make to the AOL customer experience? And I had just spent about a month before joining AOL, where this was at a time when people still used AOL. And everybody I knew who knew that I was going to AOL to work on the customer experience would say, oh my God, you got to get rid of pop-up banners. They're awful. I'm never going to use AOL if they don't get rid of those. So I had the answer, and I said, John, I think we should kill the pop-up. And he said, Don, damn it, I hate those too. About 60 days later, he called me back into his office, and he said, Joe, those pop-ups, they generated twice the response of any kind of banner we've ever run on AOL. And revenue went down about 10 to 15 million last month. So pop-ups are back. And I can't claim that pop-up banners are what led AOL to being less relevant today than they were 15 years ago. But I think it was a series of decisions in favor of employee bonuses, following the data and supporting employee bonuses over the customer experience really did hurt AOL a lot. So my recommendation would be as you're going to face decisions in your career where you can be either data-centric or customer-centric, and sometimes they're going to be in conflict, you kind of have to follow your heart.
And part of it too is thinking through when you see the results what the customer might be experiencing. So why might customers be clicking on those pop-ups?
Yeah, exactly. It could be a mistake because we were all going mobile at the time or starting to go mobile, and a lot of people were trying to close the pop-up. They weren't trying to engage with the marketer at all, and they're just getting angry. You know?
Thanks a lot, Ted.
Thank you, Dan.
So as we mentioned Catharine Hayes before. She was going to be our featured speaker here. But one thing I really liked from her book is we talk about optimizing every customer touch point, right? Thinking, what are some other ways that your brand touches customers? So in this case, McDonald's in Madrid, they found out that the Wi-Fi was leaking out into other businesses, right? This often happens. Customers were going on their free Wi-Fi without being customers of McDonald's. So they could have done at this point is they could have tried to shut it down. But instead, they used the actual names of the Wi-Fi accounts as marketing to try to bring people in. And I love it. The names of the Wi-Fi accounts almost became a little poem there. It says, if all you want is free Wi-Fi, just stay where you are. But if you also want a good meal, come to McDonald's. So again, think about every way that your brand touches a customer, perhaps beyond traditional channels, and how can you turn that into a very customer-first message? What do we got next, Pamela?
All right, Shannon Kinzer from Sun Realty, so vacation rentals.
Yes.
And you took advantage of the weather for some messaging.
We did. We had a really strong start to this year. January and February are usually our biggest booking months. We did start to see a downturn in March, which was expected, but anticipating a winter storm in the Northeast, which is where a lot of our demographic guests comes from, we put together an email campaign that featured bright, sunny, warm scenery and homes that were on the ocean front, and we had a really great response from that.
What was your results there?
So our reservations increased about 29% from one day to the next. So we were back at that about 95 reservations a day, which was our peak in January, and about 15 reservations directly related to the email, about $48,000 in gross revenues.
Awesome, we'll take it. So use the weather and lots of current events. Yeah. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
All right, joining me now is Brandon Stamschror, Senior Director of Solutions at MECLABS Institute. Brandon, you're going to be doing coaching clinics on lead generation, lead nurturing, and value proposition messaging. And value proposition, it's a big topic we talked about this morning. So if we're going to dive into our value proposition, what challenge do we have to look out for?
So it's a great question. I recently was working with one of our partners and on a value proposition analysis, and we got to a part in the process where I could tell that there was some frustration, some anxiety, some panic, frankly, that was starting to set in. And, people are starting to say, like, I was afraid of this. We don't have a value proposition at all, So I can tell you that kind of happens. It's kind of part of the process. If you're lucky enough to have a value proposition that's just immediately obvious, that, count your lucky stars, but frankly, most of us have to do the hard work around, really asking ourselves that essential question, if my ideal customer, why should they buy from me rather than any other alternative or competitor? And that's a hard question to ask, and it requires you to have to ask some hard questions and really evaluate yourself. But at the end of the day, if you do the work, you will find that you do have a value proposition. Every company has a value proposition.
So you don't have to whip out the harmonica and start playing the blues?
No, you may feel like that at some point, but I assure you, even in the most hyper-competitive spaces, simply focusing on clarity and credibility can give you an advantage over your competitors because you're just doing a better job of messaging the value that you do have.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon.
All right.
So here's another piece from our data. So we hear a lot about usability, the customer experience. So what we found is an easy purchase experience, yes, it's important, but it's only table stakes. Both satisfied and unsatisfied customers told us that an easy customer experience was important. But the big difference was an enjoyable customer experience. You can see here that when talking about the company's marketing, that was the second highest way the satisfied customers talked about their company's marketing. It was an enjoyable customer experience. For unsatisfied customers, it was way below. So again, don't only look at making that customer experience easy, that's the beginning. But once you've got that down, how can you make it enjoyable? What else can we learn, Pamela?
Daniel, thank you. I'm here with Peter Koizumi, who's with the BMO Financial Group. You do a lot of testing, and you learn something new. You've been making assumptions about your customers.
Right. So just to give some context, in Canada, we have a short window of influx traffic to our retail investment product pages. So what we decided to do is take advantage of that traffic and do some testing. And we did the standard optimization tests like CTAs and layouts, etc. But then we also did some testing around the content and really focused around educating our customers around not only our products, but the value of investing. And by doing that, we actually saw about a 77% increase in conversions.
Awesome. Did what you learned from that impact any of your other marketing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're actually doing is now we're transferring that knowledge across all of our different products, and then we're actually going through a redesign of the site as we speak for our investment products. So hopefully being able to transfer all that learning across.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Daniel?
All right, so Matt Hickman, Vice President of Yes Lifecycle Marketing. You're at Roundtable 1. And one thing, when we're working on email marketing, sure, we segment when we're actually sending out our marketing, but we should also segment in our reactivation campaigns?
Yeah, exactly. And we like to talk about how reactivation campaigns shouldn't be an afterthought. They should be something that's like a foundational best practice from day one when you're designing your program. So really look at your audience and your activations, your reactivations, your inactives, and how you can get those people back engaged.
What are some of the things you've learned by segmenting that way?
Really that, in this, it's a cross-channel world. There's lots of different channels out there to reach people. You don't have to just use email. You can use direct mail, social, mobile, and even display. And we recently completed a display campaign with a client, drove a 37% lift in their reactivations using display, going out and hitting people after they became inactive after a period of time.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Again, Matt will be at Roundtable 1.
All right, thank you.
So here's something I learned over the past few months. So as you see, MECLABS has been working with the University of Florida over the past few months, very focused on getting the word out about it. And when we started working on this, we had a pretty significant challenge. And you might have this challenge if you work with affiliate marketers or if you have different partners that actually fulfill what you're selling. We only controlled part of the funnel. Right? We control the front part of the funnel, landing page, and then ultimately we would have to send people to the University of Florida's page to apply. Right? And that was important. We couldn't just create an API or anything like that because it had to be a secure application. It had to happen on UF's page. So here's what we did. We created an iframe on one of our own landing pages, and we iframed in that UF page. So then there was no issues with security. It was actually loading UF's page. But to help people get all the way through the funnel from where they began to the end to actually have an application is we created some messaging around that iframe with a flash slider. And it walked them through this entire complex application, as a university application should be. And it gave messaging that helped reduce anxiety, helped reduce friction, helped them understand the value. So if you've got a process where you can't control part of that funnel, even if you can't control it at all, can you do anything around that part of the funnel to help give you some value messaging and to help reduce anxiety? What else can we learn from our attendees, Pamela?
Annette Garaghty from WUSTHOF is here. You have something called micro-influencers in a pretty unique program.
Yes, so we're a B2B business, and so we rely on our retail partners, our customers, to have touch points with our consumers. So after almost 200 years, or over 200 years in business, we thought, what if we could make all those retail associates micro-influencers? So we partnered with the company Experticity, and we put together educational games for the retail associates to take. So they take these games, there's 3 lessons, it takes about 15 minutes, and at the end there's a quiz. And after they pass the quiz, which isn't difficult, then they have an opportunity to purchase our product at a really reduced rate. We find that getting the product in the hands of the retail associates gives them personal stories to share. And when they share a personal story, they also remember facts about your brand. And when they share personal stories, they have a lot more credibility with the end consumer.
Awesome. And I know you have one particular success story.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
We do. So one of our largest retailers, they have several retail locations. About 8 months into this program, 50% of their stores had participated and 50% hadn't. So we use it as an opportunity to get some metrics out of it. And after they ran the sales numbers, they found that the stores that had participated in the program had a 3.5% increase in sales over the stores that didn't. So it's very successful for us.
And I love the knives.
Oh, thank you.
Back to you, Daniel.
Ryan loves the knives too, by the way.
I love the knives. The knives are awesome.
So I'm here with Ryan Phelan, VP of Marketing Insights at Adestra. He's got a solutions theater coming up, putting email back in the bedroom. So I don't know what that's about there.
Yeah.
Putting email back in the boardroom.
Boardroom,
Okay.
bedroom, boardroom. You know, they just got it. They just got it.
They're a little slower than us.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan, so we look at email addresses as ways to contact people, but you're saying we should use the email address for something more than that.
Yeah, think about it. Your email address is more important than your social security number. You use it to register for your bank account, your home insurance, your car insurance, DMV, doctors, dentists, whatever, right? All that starts to create a digital profile of places you go and things you do. Now take that online. Now you start to get identified through Google. You're signed into Gmail. You're signed into Yahoo. Now they're looking at browsing history. If I have an email address, if I have a database of email addresses like you guys, what I actually have is the key to unlock all the information about that consumer. So looking at third-party data, I can take that email address and identify the consumer. That's called the addressability of the consumer, or the addressable consumer. Once I'm able to do that, I can pull in different pieces of data from presence of children in the home, location, job, income, interest categories, and I can start to build information to help me segment better. Take that a step beyond, I can now start to look at what's called media propensity or channel propensity. And what that does is it's able to say, you consumer are more predisposed to react to a message on email or banner ads or social or direct mail or whatever, right? Just because you have an email address doesn't necessarily mean that email is the channel in which you convert both micro conversion and macro conversion. So an email address, actually, for everybody in the audience, is more valuable than a social security number. You should use it in that way to unlock all the information about your consumers.
A lot of value in building our list. So
yeah.
What about for B2B marketers now? So I know for B2B marketers, sometimes the challenge is when they're getting opt-ins, they're just getting a Gmail account or something like this. Is it important to get that actual business email address?
It is. It's always, and that's a great question, great point. It's always important to get the actual first email address. The agile consumer has 3 email addresses. The real one, a junk one, and an old one, right? On the B2B side, it's the same behavior. So you have to give the value exchange. What are you going to give the consumer, the end user, even on the B2B side, to get that primary email address? And for the B2B marketer, they can still identify the consumer because of Microsoft and LinkedIn, because of all the data that's out there right now. The impetus, the focus for every marketer is to focus on getting the primary email address at acquisition. Put your effort into that. That'll pay off down cycle.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right, a little more data we have here. So as we talked about, like really getting involved in the business and understanding what makes a satisfied customer, and this was really interesting. We asked about how reliable a company's products and services are. And the interesting thing here is the data doesn't skew the same in both ways. So for satisfied customers way skewed towards saying it was a very reliable or a reliable product. But for unsatisfied customers, you'd start to lose them at fairly reliable. It didn't take a totally unreliable product to lose a customer. So what this means is we hear a lot about a minimum viable product. And yes, a minimum viable product, if you're just talking about the amount of features that the product has, that could be a great way to start small and experiment. But if you talk about a minimum viable product and the minimum viability is in terms of reliability, you could lose customers with that one first chance or one first exposure they have to your product. Okay, what else can we learn from our audience, Pamela?
Thanks, Daniel. I'm here with Gary Jury, from CAA, and you won your ticket here.
Yes, I did.
And Gary won a Twitter contest we had, actually. It was inspired by The Onion. We had fun headlines, and our speaker tomorrow, Scott Dickers, actually judged it and chose your entry. And Don, can you just show that slide, please? We can see the tweet that won, which is, sorry to throw that on you. All right, women seeking religious identity inadvertently converts to PDF. Well done.
Thank you.
Good job. So tell us, you have some ideas around writing and communicating.
Absolutely. It's firstly is say what you mean and mean what you say. And the edit is a huge part of it. Once heard Blaise, that's right, be precise with your language. Blaise Pascal, he was a 17th century French mathematician and philosopher. And he said, I wrote you a long letter because I didn't have time to write you a shorter one. And so it's a matter of take the message, craft it, edit.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Scott Dickers, who's going to be speaking tomorrow morning, the founder of The Onion, he actually picked Gary's winning headline. We didn't pick it, so congratulations again, Gary. I'm joined now by Matthew Indellicati, Associate Director of Strategy for MNC Saatchi Mobile. He hosts Roundtable 15. And Matthew, what should we think when we're thinking about the mobile purchasing patterns of customers?
Sure, yeah, they're super fluid now. As you know, it's a connector across multiple mediums and channels. I think the opportunities to convert are everywhere. People are expressing intent at all times, and for people to be able to capitalize on that is going to be really important. So I think, our approach to kind of, looking at these different paths to conversion wherever possible allows us to plan in a sense where we are thinking about when is going to be the most opportune time for your brand or product to be in front of them. When are they going to be in the kind of mindset to be thinking about that kind of purchase or conversion? And I think, one of the sort of more interesting cases that we've been exploring is we're working with one of our partners, and I guess you could kind of categorize this in the post-conversion or post-purchase kind of category, but working with them and another mobile marketing automation solution to analyze all types of in-app behavior and in-app data to segment audiences and figure out when is going to be the best time to message them with a push notification, for example, to get them to re-engage or to follow up on an action that they had previously taken but maybe abandoned, something along those lines.
So are there any rules of thumb, or we just have to find out, for each different type of customer, all our customers are unique?
Yeah, all those different types of customers are unique. I think, something that I like to try to practice is less of an emphasis on who they are in terms of demographics, but figuring out what those behaviors are and what those kind of patterns are, and planning around those.
Great, thanks a lot, Matthew.
Thank you.
So here's a tip from roundtable number 8, Andrea Shaikin. She's a former Director of Customer Experience and Engagement at Mr. Lube Canada, and she has a track. She's actually doing a session in Digital and Data track, and it was a customer lifecycle case study. And what she said is, you can't just say, I'm just a marketing person, right? So I won't speak for you, I'll speak for myself. It is very difficult to talk to the IT department. They are awesome people and stuff, but they use words and acronyms I don't understand, and frankly, don't care a whole lot about. What I care about is, it's like this, and I'd love it to be like this, right? What Andrea is saying is, that's pretty much a cop-out. If you want to make smart decisions, you got to understand it at a deeper level, and really get closer to that IT department, and basically, and hopefully my IT department doesn't see this, don't send around memes like that, okay? Because then they're not going to be your friends. All right, let's go back out into the audience, Pamela.
Yeah, I'm here with Matt Sitler from Paychex, and you were here last year.
I was.
And you went back and you were armed with lots of information.
Yes.
And I'm sure everyone here is wondering, okay, I'm going to have to go back and show it was worth it, I learned a lot. Any advice?
Yes, download all the PDFs and make sure to share, not only with your managers, not only with your teammates, but definitely with individual contributors. They're the ones that are going to make your vision happen, so the more knowledge you can impart to them, the better.
Awesome. Have you done anything this year differently based on your experience last year?
Yeah, I plan on sharing. We work really well with our PR department and with our enterprise communication, our current client communication department. Last year, we just shared within marketing. I plan on sharing to more departments within the organization. As you talk about high touch points, especially our current client communication group, it'd be very helpful for them to see a lot of this information.
Awesome. Great. And come back next year, right?
You know it.
Great. Thank you. Daniel?
All right, as a writer, I love this next example. So Ari Sheinkin, the VP of Marketing Analytics at IBM, he's doing a session in the Digital and Data track, and he's talking about the 7 truths that IBM has learned. And now, when you think about IBM, right, huge B2B company, they're selling to all sorts of different industries, healthcare, finance. I mean, if there's an industry out there, you name it, they're doing it. So one of the things that Ari found is use your customers' words, not your own. So in this example, you could see it was something for the HR industry, data and analytics, and they were using smarter workforce. Now the term smarter workforce, that's an IBM term, right? People aren't actually searching for that. But when they looked at HR analytics, that was searched for 1,000 times more per month in Google. So in your own industry and with your own customers, think about, are you talking about it in your language or are you talking about in theirs? When it's something like this, when it's B2B, it might be because you're doing it in your own language because it's the name of your product. But in B2C sometimes, we use complex things that customers don't care about, right? Like I've seen, for example, kidney doctors talk about renal failure instead of kidney disease. What would your customer search for? So personally, I love to, for B2C, look at things like Yelp, right, and review sites, social media, see how customers are actually talking and typing. And in B2B, I'm sure there's plenty of forums where you can actually see how customers are talking. This next example, we went back into the Wayback Machine, So as you probably know, MarketingSherpa has been doing this for quite a while. We're getting close to, I think, 20 years of writing case studies. And so this is from one of our early case studies. So I'm not saying use this, maybe use it, maybe don't use it, it's up to you. But the advice was keep the same subject line until it stops working. So I haven't tested this, but if you test it, please let me know. So back in the early days when the internet was starting, I know I was working in direct response newspaper advertising. And so if we could run an ad for 2 to 6 weeks, that would be a pretty good ad if it still pulled leads. And I remember writing an ad, and it pulled leads for 6 months. That was great. You can just run the same ad, and you keep getting leads. And so I guess the advice here, they first emailed in the spring of 1999, and they just kept using the subject line, 5 tech stocks every investor must own, and they kept getting opens and clicks. So use that advice at your own caution. All right, Pamela, we got 3 minutes left. What do you got for us?
This is my own, actually, tip. So this is actually a line that Daniel wrote. Why is your marketing voice different from your real voice? And I've actually done a lot of soul searching for myself in that way. I'm the director of marketing. You guys are my customers. And I've actually talked to a lot of you because our team made a shift this year. We stopped thinking about Summit as starting when you check in and started thinking about Summit as when you start browsing the site or when you ask a question. And so we started answering customer service emails ourselves. And so you may have heard from Aaron or Amy or Ashley or me. And we're the marketers. And it gave us so much insight because we built relationships with real people. There's an example of a gentleman I had to respond to because he didn't receive a book that he ordered. That also helps me stay honest. And when I write my emails, I think about these people. So do that. If you have customer service, and you can't maybe get on calls, but listen to calls and read emails. Obama, I think, was an example. Daniel, why don't you mention that?
Yeah, I love that. So this can seem overwhelming, right? Especially for a very big company. There's a great article in New York Times Magazine in January about former President Obama and how every day he read 10 letters from constituents. And they were getting some crazy amount, 10,000 letters per day or some amazing amount. And the article really did a good job of going through and showing they had a very rigorous process to get to those 10 letters. And those 10 letters formed a narrative that really helped the president understand his customers, which were his constituents.
And when you're on the individual level, it helps you strip out that marketing voice and you just speak person to person.
All right, we only got another minute, Pamela. So here's another learning we had from our data. So when we asked satisfied and unsatisfied customers about the reasons they were satisfied and unsatisfied, satisfied customers on average gave us 5 reasons, right? You can check multiple things. So on average, they gave us 5 reasons. Unsatisfied customers on average gave us 3 reasons. And the reason behind this might be when you're satisfied, kind of broadly satisfied, there are many different reasons that you're satisfied. But when you're unsatisfied with a company, sometimes it just takes that one darn thing. Right? So like I was flying Delta in on here, well, I intended to. I had to switch airlines because if you know what happened with Delta. But when you see all the people that were upset about Delta, it was that one darn thing, right? So Delta's great. It has new airplanes. It's got TVs in their airplanes. It's got nice snacks, all that stuff. But that one darn thing, if you can't get me to where I'm going, that can make all the difference. So figure out what that one key thing is for your product. And Pamela, 40 seconds, what else can we learn?
One last one. So this was social content track this morning. Max Anderson from Nextiva. He has this great example for B2B, talking about building relationships, especially in digital, especially for sales. It's really tough, and we've lost some of that face-to-face. So what his team has done, they've put a face to the name link in all of their salespeople's email signatures. So you click on that, and we'll roll what you see.
This is Pierce.
How's it going?
Pierce is a sales rep at Nextiva, dedicated to providing you with amazing service.
That's right. I really want to learn a little bit more about your business and how Nextiva's products can simplify your business communications.
Awesome to hear. In your own words, why is Nextiva the right choice for cloud communications?
It's got to be our dedication to amazing service, providing enterprise-level solutions for businesses of all sizes.
Well said. Thanks again, Pierce.
Have a good one.
And the great thing about that is clearly Pierce, right? It's pretty unvarnished and it's just real. So they've gotten a lot more relationships built that way and actually some conversions. So.
All right, so what we really tried to show in this session, one, just give you lots of different ideas on how you can improve your marketing as you get back. Hopefully if you take 1 or 2 of those ideas, it'll make a big difference. Another thing we really wanted to try to show is, like we said, not all the wisdom happens on the stage here. There's a lot of attendees out there with some great information that they can share with you. So now we're going to go out to roundtables where you can sit with them and talk about a specific pain point you have. Pamela, you want to tell us a little bit about the roundtables?
Yeah, sure. We talked about them earlier. You probably have already signed up. If you haven't, there's a couple other things to do as well. There will be a solution theater going on as well. So that will be addressing the unique email needs of the enterprise marketer by message gears. That's at 2:50. And you can always go to the optimization lab or the coaching clinics and get some hands-on help that way too. And then during the break, right after the roundtables, we have another solution theater, which is the smartest CRM for one-to-one customer journeys. And so you should have your roundtable numbers. They are, I forget what, 1 to, I've forgotten. 1 to like 30, I think, on this side, and then the signs are up there.
Yeah, so again, coming up in the solutions theater, we have those different solutions theaters that you mentioned. Now that we have the slides down.
Yes.
All right, thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.